we can also.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Grant Cameron, and I have a repeat guest. I have a friend, Sama Chong, who has joined me before. We took a long time to put his interview up. It's gone up, and we're going to do part 2 today of the interview. And I want to welcome you today, Sammy. Thank you for joining me again, and to continue our discussion about the Theuba prophecy. Is that how you pronounce it? Theuba prophecy?
Yes, Theuba prophecy.
Theuba prophecy, yeah. And you are kind of the expert on this. So give me a little bit about your background and a little bit on the book, because people will have part 1. This is part 2. But give us a little bit of your background and how you came to find this book, and then we'll get into a little more detail than we discussed in part 1.
Yes, I was born in Beijing, China, and my name is Samuel Chong. Currently a certified court interpreter based in Los Angeles, and also just completed my Juris Doctor program. And I'm going to be talking about what I learned so far since we last met. But how I found out about the book was that I was just searching online for a book written by ET contactees, because I thought if the ET contactees uh, can receive certain information from the extraterrestrials with advanced civilizations, then we can just learn from them and then to progress at a much faster pace. Maybe just to learn from the information and technologies of the ETs. So I got this book accidentally on Amazon. I thought it's very interesting because it contained specific verifiable facts that the author wouldn't have been able to know at that time, because the book was written in 1991, before the age of the internet. But it has so many details, such as the details that we can verify nowadays with scientific findings and also additional research, that I think the book has a lot of validity and authenticity. So I'm really into the book for a reason. For another reason is that it gives a lot of advice to us how we can respond to the current situations in the world, especially the political events and also financial economic events as well. Especially given the fact that after we spoke last time, there was congressional hearings about David Grush's testimonies in Congress on UFO or crash retrievals. And I think it has specific implications because, the David Grush has made a very important step in the disclosure process. But the UFOs crashed, indicating that the technologies of the ETs, of the crashed UFOs, still have rooms for improvement. But this book, Theuba Prophecy, has information about the ETs whose UFOs or spacecrafts that didn't crash. And in fact, they have been guiding us throughout history in ancient times, as documented in ancient scriptures in the Bible, especially regarding the destructions of Sodom and Gomorrah and the Exodus, what happened during Exodus, Moses leading the Hebrews out of Egypt, and also the birth of Jesus and Christ. So a lot of very interesting facts that people can verify and make their own conclusions.
Now, is Michael Desmarquet wrote the book. Can you talk a little bit about him and then sort of elaborate? Are there any other people who came in contact with these same beings?
Well, Michel Desmarquet, he wrote a book in 1991, and the event actually occurred in 1987. And it talks about his personal encounters with this group of ETs who took him on a journey for 9 days to their planet and then came back. And they revealed a lot of interesting information that I think everyone should take a look at the book. It's a very dense book. As far as any other contacts, so far, Michel Desmarquet is the most recent person who had contact with this group of ETs. In the ancient past, a different person Michel Demarquet believed that also had a contact with the same group of ETs, and that person's name is Enoch. There's a book of Enoch in which, according to the scriptures in the Bible, he went with gods or the Theovans, the Jehovahans.
Now he was in South Vietnam. Why that particular country in terms of making the contact there? Because Christianity, I don't think is really that big in Vietnam, is it?
Well, he had a contact made in Australia, in Cairns, Australia,
Okay.
back in 1987, and the book, after everything happened, he came back to Cairns, exactly where he was living at that time, and then he began to tell everyone. He began to write a book, and then began to promote his book and giving lectures. And at that time, as you know, people were not as open as nowadays to adventures or events like ET UFO encounters. So he had a lot of setbacks back then. So he also met a lot of resistance, even from ufologists at that time. He had an emotional and psychological breakdown, and he divorced, and he wanted to change to a different environment. That's why he went to Vietnam, Phu Island, Vietnam.
Is that where he was the book sold in Australia? Was he promoting the book already in Australia or only after he went back to Vietnam?
Mhm. He was promoting the book in Australia, and also he gave a few lectures or he accepted a few interviews in the U.S. Back in the early 90s. The book was self-published in Australia without the distribution channels back then. So the book sold pretty well in Australia, but later sold better in Japan. And after the book was published in China and Taiwan, it was a bestseller in both countries.
And you were behind that, right? The publication in China and helping get China and Taiwan.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
And so which countries is the book available in and how many languages is it available in?
So right now the book is available on Amazon in over the world. It's translated into it is translated into 17 languages now, and in more than 30 countries, people can purchase the book and offline and online everywhere else. Yeah.
Wow. Do you get comments? Are you sort of the front man for this? Do you get comments from people about the book from around the world?
Yes, I receive a lot of comments from people, and a lot of them are positive comments, and some of them have doubts and are skeptical. That's normal.
So what would be one of the say the positive comments and maybe some of the doubt is the skeptical related to the message or related just to ETs?
I mean, the skepticals are mostly related to the ET encounters. They're saying that if this book contains so much specific verifiable information, but why uh, only a few people know about this book so far, and why not more people are talking about this? So this is where my efforts come in. I'm trying to spread the words to more people and to allow more people to have the opportunity to read this book, because it does have a lot of um, implications to the current events. As we know, what happened in the last few years, and people have been trying to find ways to live a more interesting, more kind of practical life. But this book talks about the root of the problems on Earth, giving enlightenments on some of the fundamental problems that we have had in the last few years. Um, and it talks about the real dangers on Earth, such as number one is the money, number two, politicians, number three, journalists and drugs, number four, religions. If you look at everything, everything revolves around money, the big pharmaceutical companies, the big energy companies, and also even educational companies, schools and universities. So I think it really opens people's eyes, and also the book provides a solution, which I think is also very interesting.
Do they actually mention like politicians and journalists and stuff like that, the beings and in terms of what they say?
Yes, it says politicians is the second most dangerous thing on earth, because the politicians only focus on their power and fame, and also most politicians. And it really wants people to open their eyes and to know what's really going on in the world. And if we are talking about in the US and uh, politi politicians such as Republicans and Democrats, they just kind of have a lot of power struggles on the stage, but people don't realize that there's a small group behind the scenes pulling the strings. So they're just like puppets on the stage, and people need to look at what's really going on behind the scenes and to make the right choices in the future.
Okay, what's the name of the beings? Like,
The names of the planet is called Theoba or Jehovah, and its pronunciation is very similar to Jehovah, as indicated in the Bible. And there is a connection because they were, according to them, they were responsible for a lot of events that happened in the past, as documented in the Bible. So when people were talking about um, the Jehovah's who opened the Sea of Reeds, or the Red Sea or the Sea of Reeds, in which Moses led the Hebrews out of Egypt. They say that it's their doing. They were helping Moses to lead the Hebrews out of Egypt to escape from the evil rules of the ancient pharaohs. So they were responsible for a lot of events that happened in the past in the Bible.
so they were involved then. Are they involved now in terms of what's going on? Are they still active, or did they sort of stop after during the biblical times?
They're still very active right now, but in a very indirect way. In the recent times, they were active. I can give you two examples. One is that in the 1960s, in the book it talks about a project in which the U.S. government released hundreds of millions of copper needles into space in order to improve the telecommunication signals. Um, Back then, and they were responsible for collecting the needles, the copper needles, from space, believing that the copper needles would pose pose danger to people on Earth. So that's why the Project Westford, which is the name of the project, failed the first time and second time, and they say they also prevented Germany from being the first country to develop the atomic bomb during World War II, so that less number of people died as a result of that. And in a way, they helped the U.S. government to win World War II, believing that the U.S. government at that time was more sincere in protecting individual liberties. So they have been involved quite a bit in recent times, but mostly indirectly. And by having Michel Demarquet having this experience and writing this book, they are sending us warnings. Um, they say that we are at a very critical moment of time. If we don't make the right choices in future, then catastrophes are definitely going to happen. They indicate that we should focus more on spiritual development, spirituality, and not to be dwelt on the materialistic aspect of lives. And by that, they also give a lot of examples of reincarnation, by taking Michel de Marquet to his past lives and telling him that in each lifetime he had different lessons to learn, and the purpose of life is actually to learn different lessons, spiritual lessons, so that the creator can experience everything and we can elevate ourselves spiritually.
Now, you just raised the reincarnation issue, which I think the survey shows 26% of experiencers claim that they were talked about reincarnation. Why do you interpret this as not in the Bible? Because they're referencing the Bible and then reincarnation. Why is your personal opinion, I guess is all you have, is why is the reincarnation not mentioned in the Bible?
It's actually written in the book. The reason is because the Catholic Church Council meetings intentionally
Okay.
distorted the original meanings of the ancient scriptures. And the book listed four Catholic Church Council meetings, including the Council of Nicaea, in which in order to gain more control, the the church leaders decided to distort the original teachings of Christ. And actually, the reason for Christ dying on the cross and then resurrecting 3 days after is just to show people at that time that there is life after death and there is reincarnation. And this is the whole reason why he died on the cross and then resurrected 3 days after. And I think this book goes into a lot of details of what happened from the birth of Jesus and the death of Christ and resurrection.
Now, a question that's often asked to me is, and it's a question that was asked also of Martin Luther many centuries ago. Why did they not present themselves? Or Martin Luther was asked, why does God not present himself? Why this indirect way of communicating with people indirectly, where people can sort of believe it or not believe it? Why don't they just land on the White House lawn and sort of give us a lecture as to which direction to take if things are dire?
So there's a difference between God, the creator, and the ETs, advanced beings that have been involved in our past. So let's talk about God first. So God is the creator of everything. It created the stars, the planets, and plants and animals on Earth, including our human beings as well. So when God created human beings, it inserted a tiny portion of itself to each one of us, so that God or the creator can experience everything we experience. We send feedbacks to God through our higher selves. So that's God. God is just a pure spirit without image. It's just an energy, like a pure spirit, the great ether. The advanced ET beings are the ones that have been contacting us throughout history. Why they don't appear directly and uh, to the presidents, and because we are not ready yet, because we are not spiritually evolved enough for them to make public appearances yet. So they are kind of working indirectly and giving us guidance and mentoring us behind the scenes, because they're thinking, like, I'll give you one example, is that when we need to evolve ourselves, we need to take the progress seriously and on our own in order um, to learn the real lessons. For example, in Mexico, there's a biologist who saw like a cocoon in which a butterfly was trying to come out. And then the butterfly was struggling, and then the biologist, being a compassionate person, opened the cocoon and helping the butterfly to fly, to come out. And then what happened was that the butterfly came out, but it couldn't fly because it had to go through the struggling process itself in order to be able to fly. Similarly, we have to be more independent and go through the struggling process ourselves in order to be able to survive for the long term on Earth. And so this is their way of thinking. They're thinking like, by giving this book to the messages contained in the book to the people, then the people who are ready are going to learn and to make the right choices. But at the same time, there are also people who are not ready yet for this book. And this is what I've been finding out as well through the process. A lot of people are overwhelmed by the messages in the book, because it talks about ancient civilizations and plate tectonics, and also archaeology and spirituality and auras and human energy fields, the effects of colors, and politics, secret societies, and even like the purpose of sex, and how the chakras are involved in the sexual intercourse. So this book contains so much information that a lot of people uh, might not be ready for it. But we have to take step-by-step process in order to be evolved and to have more people open to the concept of having this kind of guardianship by the ETs.
Are you part of the process? Do you think your mission on Earth? What do you believe you're here on a mission, and is this part of your mission?
I think so. I think it's not an accident that I found this book and took so much pain to track the author down and to promote the book after it's published in China and Taiwan, and also to non-Chinese speakers as well. And I think um, uh, there's a reason for Michel de Marquet to disclose to me what he learned, but was not allowed to write in the book because there are certain things that he knew, but was told not to uh, tell anyone else.
And why is that? And can you give us a hint of one of the things that you sort of make public that you were allowed to tell?
Well, the one thing that he told me, I'm not able to share anything, but I wrote an article, and I posted. I mentioned in the last interview as well that I posted on my website. The title of the article is uh, will Christ come back or the second coming or something like that. So people can read that article to get a hint because I gave as many clues as possible so that people can get a general idea. But the other thing that he didn't include in the book include like the grays. Um, the grays are um, the ETs from a low category of planet. They come to Earth and actually they do implant devices on people, certain people, but only 150 or so. Not by the year 1993, not a lot as people imagined. They are actually a dying race because they have their immune system kind of gradually not functioning as well as before. So they wanted to track how we respond to the same situation because we have been losing our immune system since 1948. They just want to monitor us. And the Theubans, the higher, like the ETs that this author, Michel de Marquet, encountered, specifically tell us that there's no need to worry about their implants because they have been monitoring the activities of the grays, making sure that there's no harm to be caused on us. And so this is one thing he didn't put in the book. And the second thing is about the Sphinx in Egypt. Um, he says that there are three chambers beneath the Sphinx in Egypt. When we are ready, the three chambers can be opened, and when they're opened, then everything will be known. This coincides with what Edgar Casey said about the Hall of Records. So I think there's an interesting connection there.
Yeah, yeah, I recognize that as soon as you mentioned that. Are the Theobans, are they working with anybody? Are they protect, like you mentioned, the Greys, are they protecting us from others? Is because you'll hear a lot of people talk about this battle, that there's the good guys and the bad guys, and the good guys are trying to protect us from the bad guys. Is that kind of thing going on? Or because you hear a lot of different types of beings, especially if you go back before the Greys appeared in 61, you'll see all sorts of types of beings being described. Is there multiple beings here with multiple agendas?
Well, if there are, I mean, the book really doesn't mention about evil beings, but there are other ETs on different planets, 147 of them in just in our Milky Way galaxy, and they kind of indirectly tell us that they are protecting us from any of the not so well intended ETs from like coming to us because we have been prevented to explore the moon um, since 50 years ago because we are not ready. We are still having wars here. So by the same token, they would prevent other ETs from coming to Earth if they are not ready. So I think this is the same kind of action that they do just to protect us and protect others if we are not ready. So I don't think there are going to be wars between bad and good ETs. And I think those are very good science fictions. I really don't think the ETs are going to invade us at all.
Are you in contact with the Theobans? Are you getting messages? Are they helping you in terms of directing what you're doing?
You know, I haven't had any messages or contact from them yet. Um, and in my subconscious mind, I always think that it's better to um, be more independent because when I solve the problem, when I navigate all the puzzles on my own, I learn the most. If they just show me around and tell me the answers directly, then I wouldn't have been able to learn as much. Just like parents teaching their children mathematical problems, they would guide them, but not giving the answers directly. But then more than that, I want to guide myself. I want to navigate all the puzzles, all the pieces on my own in order to take full advantage of my lifetime in this life and to learn as much as possible.
Now, in terms of learning, I'm a Canadian, and we look down in the United States and we see like just like a circus going on there. I mean, how would you, as an American, guide or advise people in the United States? How would you live your life if that in because people are looking at whatever they're looking at and panicking and stuff, and you have this message for them. How would you advise them to live their life?
I would advise them to gain more knowledge because knowledge is power. If you really have the knowledge, you're going to see everything. Like it really doesn't matter if it's a Republican or Democrat. It depends on the individual, whether the politician or the leader is working hard for the interests of the people. And as we all know, like we have good presidents and not so good presidents in the US, and some of the good ones are frequently not able to continue their second term or they get assassinated. So those are the signs that you see when they are working for the interests of the people. And because when they work for the people, they are against the interests of special interest groups, the big corporations or the financiers. And Michelle de Marquis actually told me that there are 12 families in the world controlling everything. And if you really look deeper, you're going to see there are also secret societies that are involved as well, especially the members of the secret societies having advanced knowledge, having special psychic abilities to control certain actions and to really predict what's going to happen in the future in a certain extent, to a certain extent. I actually translated a different book titled 334,000 Lies, written by supposedly the highest degree chair of a secret society that was founded in Germany. And I later found out it could be the Illuminati. It talks about how they control the decision-making process of the different politicians and how they uh, use a special form of astrology to predict future events and how they mind control, how they're able to be able to see auras or human energy fields. So everything is connected, and if people have the knowledge, they're going to recognize who is really for the interests of the people and who is just um, trying to gain power and prestige.
So you mentioned secret societies. I've always wondered about this in terms of, and I guess the same thing would apply to how UFOs are dealt. I mean, would secret societies be influencing mainland China's politics or North Korea or Russia, or is it just Western society that the secret societies are operating?
Mhm. I cannot speak anything about North Korea or Russia, but I know for a fact that secret societies have been influencing the politics of China. And most people don't know about this, but whistleblowers from China and currently in exile, they have been revealing certain information about certain government leaders in China. Um, who are members of different secret societies, and they have a pretty big connection over there.
Wow, interesting. How, just sort of a little bit off topic. I mean, how does the say the same societies deal with UFOs? Because we hear like Gresh and we hear the Congress and talking about it and stuff like that, but we don't really hear anything coming out of Russia or China or Taiwan or even Japan. What do you think is going on there? Do you think you have the same sort of whistleblowers that may come forward, or how are they dealing with the? Are they just sitting there waiting for the Americans to disclose?
I think if the secret societies can influence China to a great extent, then China must be uh, part of I would say the cabal. I mean, certain part of the governments or departments are part of the cabal that are kind of trying to prevent the disclosure from coming out or from being successful. Um, but the people in China and Taiwan, they have been really interested in the disclosure process. They have seen UFOs or UAPs in the sky, especially in the last year or so. More and more people have videotaped or using their cell phone to document some of the special phenomenon that they see in China and Taiwan. And there are also claims of people who encountered ET beings in China and Taiwan. Um, but this book, Theory of Prophecy, is so different. It's because it contains a lot of facts that people can verify and can just do additional research and find out, wow, this is true. This is true. Oh, and how could the author know about that? Like this book talks about the effects of blue light having antibacterial, antiviral effects. Because the ETs used the blue light to disinfect him after he entered into the spacecraft, and now people can find out a lot of research findings by universities about the effects of blue light. And this book also contains information about the auras and chakras, in which a lot of people have been wondering about. And there are scientific studies on chakras and auras, and their effects on health, and also different things about people's mental abilities, and also talks about the dangers of drugs. We all know drugs are dangerous, but it talks at length why hallucinogenic drugs are dangerous to us. It not only affects our physical body, but also our astral body. Our astral body is made of electrons. So when people take hallucinogenic drugs, they have a false paradigm. Their astral body is removed from the physical body and to a place which is not supposed to be. And then, in a sense, the electrons in astral body are negatively affected by the hallucinogenic drugs, and it would take a few generations, a few reincarnations to make up the damages caused by the drugs. So the drugs are extremely dangerous, not only to the physical health of a person, but also to the spirit, the astral body, the psyche of a person. And it would take like hundreds of years for people to repair the damages done. So I wouldn't suggest people to take any hallucinogenic drugs at all. So things like that are really, really interesting in the book, and especially about the far side of the moon. People are talking about their ET bases on the backside of the moon. Yes, according to this book, it also gives us specific details why and how that happened. It happened about 250,000 years ago when a different group of ETs from the planet Arima X3 trying to migrate some of their people to Earth because of overpopulation issue on their planet. So if people are thinking we have an overpopulation issue, then there's a solution. We can migrate to a different planet. There's no need to kill some of our people here. So when that happened, they encountered resistance from the Chinese on a continent that rose up from the Pacific Ocean about 300, actually million, like a million years ago. And so in order not to cause a lot of conflicts, they decided to retreat and they built ET bases on the far side of the moon as a transfer station to migrate their people face by face to the continent Lemuria, which was on the Pacific Ocean. And then because they had advanced technologies such as gravitational technologies, and they built a very successful civilization on that continent. They also built a pyramid in their capital called Casanova on the northwestern corner of that continent, which is 3 times as large as the Great Pyramid of Egypt. And so they kind of were very prosperous at that time, having no money, and everyone lived in harmoniously with each other. No one took advantage of each other, and that's when the ETs from Thuba made direct contact with them because they were ready spiritually, and they actually helped the people on Lemuria to colonize other parts of Earth, such as North America, like India, and South America as well. But unfortunately, that continent sunk into the ocean because of an earthquake 14,500 years ago. So the ET bases on the far side of the moon was actually built by the people from Arima X3, who are the ancestors of the Polynesians today.
Why are the entities interested in us? Why are they here? I mean, is this their business? I mean, if are they here as sort of like shepherds, or what's the ultimate purpose of why they're here?
Mhm. They have been our mentors. We are just like elementary school students. They're like college professors because they come from a category 9 planet, and Earth is a category 1 planet, the lowest category. So we have our role is to learn and to struggle in a very harsh environment, and they have their role as well, which is to guide people on lower level or category of planets. So they're just kind of guiding us whether directly or indirectly, and sometimes intervene directly, just like what they did in the past. Um, yeah, distracting the 2 cities, Sodom and Gomorrah. And sometimes they do that indirectly, such as having Enoch and Michel de Marquet write a book just to warn people about their decision-making process and
Is
their
is there
spiritual
is there a balance point in this in terms of, you mentioned before, the thing with the butterfly, in terms of doing our homework for us, in terms of where they help and where they should basically allow us to learn our own lessons?
there is a balance. When the people are so spiritually depraved or so evil, like the people in Sodom and Gomorrah, they would destroy the 2 cities because they're just like malignant tumors. They're going to spread, they're going to affect the people who were in contact with them. So they have to remove the tumors by, I mean, just to kill the people in the 2 cities because they cannot be saved anymore, quote unquote saved or changed or converted anymore. But for us, there are certain people, like I know you probably know a lot of people who are spiritually evolved, and people who are ready to be reincarnated on a higher level of planet when after they die. So that's when they take the approach of helping us indirectly by giving us messages. Um, for example, this book is one of the ways to do that. And there's a balance. And it depends on how the situation evolves. If all the people on Earth are not making the right decisions, then there's definitely going to be a catastrophe, whether it's by them or by others.
I'm good friends with Chris Bledsoe. I don't know if you're familiar with his case or whatever, but he has his encounter with, he calls it the Lady in Light, or the yeah, I think the Lady in Light, and she gives him a message to bring to the world. It's his burden, and the American government stepped in, and military people, and he actually wrote a report that went to the Pentagon about what the lady had said. Is there any interest that you know of, whether here or in China, or in this message in Michael's original story, where they're trying to figure out? Because in a lot of ways, I mean, if you're at the intelligence agencies, stuff doesn't fall out of the sky. You got to go to the people who are having the encounters. That's the only place you can get information. Is there any interest that you know of world governments in terms of the message that comes out of this book?
Well, in the very, very beginning, he kept really quiet and he kept a very low profile. And I think um, it's a it's a good thing that he really wasn't able to publish the book by a major publisher, and he self-published it and gave private lectures and things like that. And I know from someone, so this is hearsay, this is anecdotal,
Yeah.
that after the book was published in Australia, and two people from the KGB came to visit him. But then this is purely anecdotal, and there's no way to prove it. It's purely like from information that I just heard, and nothing else so far, because he passed away in 2018, and the last time I visited him was in March 2018, and he didn't really tell me anything about the government contacting him. And I think it's a good thing that the book was has been a kind of low profile book among the ufologists and the UFO communities.
Okay. Now you mentioned in your email to me about technologies. Talk a little bit about the technologies. Are they giving us technology, or are they just sort of indicating where we should go? Talk a little bit about technologies.
Yes, they actually in the book provided a lot of leads or hints where we should focus in our technology development, which should be helping our spiritual evolvement or development. And for example, it talks about using different colors and lights to cure different diseases and to improve our health. The blue light, as we all know, have antibacterial, antiviral effects, but other colors of lights have also a different therapeutic effects. Like if you just search color therapy, you're gonna find out that in the 1920s, color therapy or chromotherapy was really popular in the US until the invention of antibiotics. And the FDA cracked down on color therapy. But green color has shown to be very effective at treating migraines or headaches. And it's so effective that the people who participated in the clinical experiments wanted to receive the green lights as a gift to them so that they can use at home. And also pink color has the effect of weakening the muscle strength. It's mentioned in the book as well. So there's a coach, football coach in the US a few decades ago. He intentionally painted the locker rooms of the opposing teams into pink color when they have home games going on. So he never lost any home games. And I don't
Yeah.
know. So he is really smart on that. And football coaches listen to this, read the book. And so this is the effect of colors. And it also talks about when you try to build like a spacecraft, when you travel at a very fast speed, you should pay attention to the space dusts or the small meteors. And it uses antimatter guns to destroy the space dusts and the small stones or meteors in space. So this is a detail in the book that it kind of hinted. He also talks about time machine. It mentions that the US government was trying to develop a time machine. Um, and this book was written in 1991. And by that time, the government was unsuccessful because it focused too much on the wavelengths and not so much on the vibrational frequencies. So this book says that when a planet is created or born, there's a psychosphere, like a cocoon that rotates around the planet at the speed 7 times speed of light, recording everything that happens on the planet. In order to develop a time machine and to go back to the past, the vibrational frequency has to be matched to the vibrational frequency of the cocoon, which is 7 times the speed of light. So it's kind of helping the U.S. scientists to develop successfully like a time machine. They actually took Michel de Marquet, the author, back in time to about 14,500 years ago, when the continent of Lemuria on the Pacific Ocean sunk into the ocean. Michel de Marquet, he actually witnessed and experienced when that happened. This book contains a lot of details like that, and helping the readers, to get a sense of the technologies and the knowledge that the Theobans have. So this is about time machine. He also talks about the anti-gravitational technologies. They use that to build the statues on Easter Island and also the pyramid in Egypt. So it says that if you can find the right vibrational frequency, you can actually neutralize gravity. And when you neutralize the gravity, then objects will become weightless. So that's the anti-gravitational technology. And also supersonic vibratory system. How did they cut the huge stones to build the statues on Easter Island, and how they built the stones of the pyramids? They used the ultrasonic vibratory knife, so to cut the huge stones in a very precise manner. And we can actually do the same if we find the same way to do that. It also talks about the clean energy. Uh-huh.
No, no.
They they say we can actually split water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen atoms, and to use the hydrogen to feed the hydrogen engine, so we can have clean energies on Earth. And actually, people like Stanley Meyer was able to develop like a car, a vehicle that ran on water, but he died in very strange circumstances when he was about to commercialize this technology. And things like a lot of technologies were mentioned in the book. I would suggest people to check it out and to find more information.
I actually have a friend working on that, a business guy here that's interested in that kind of stuff, following experiences who are getting the message. Now that relates back to, you talked about the pink dressing room. You have the government, and you have in the United States, not to pick on the United States, but they have a $900 billion defense budget. And basically that's about killing other people and civilians and stuff like that. And how do you balance the technology of them using it? Because basically what it comes down to, the way it's worked since World War II, is they develop it like GPS, they use it for war and whatever, and then they spin it off into the public. So how do we prevent them from taking this technology that can be used for good and making the world even a worse place in terms of building weapons? Because that's basically what they want to do. And they have the money, they have the resources. You and I are just like sort of people on the street. We don't really have that much power. How do you balance that against the government's power in terms of wanting to develop weapons out of this technology?
This is why they didn't choose a scientist or physicist to go to their planet. They chose Michel de Marquet, a landscaper, a farmer in Australia, to go to their planet, because Michel de Marquet was told that if they chose like a physicist, then the information and knowledge that the physicists would bring back would destroy Earth, because we are not ready spiritually to live harmoniously and peacefully among ourselves. And the knowledge will be used by the government to develop weapons. So a lot of the information was actually withheld by the Theobans, because, like, for example, how they traveled as faster than the speed of light is actually not disclosed in detail to Michel de Marquet. But Michel de Marquet actually revealed in private lectures that he learned how they traveled at so far distance in such a short time, that they first got into deep space at a speed a few times faster than the speed of light. Um, how much faster than speed of light is not disclosed. It's not disclosed. And once they're in deep space, they would use what Michel de Marquet would call transubstantiation, or what I would call teleportation, to travel immediately to another location without a loss of time. That's also in deep space. And then from that point down, they would also again travel at a speed a few times faster than speed of light to their destination. And they only are able to do teleportation in deep space because if they did that like in our atmosphere, then their spacecraft would have exploded. So that's the reason. So there's a balance, the information disclosed in the book versus what the Thebans were capable of, just to prevent misuse by the government.
Now you mentioned as part of your technology, the whole thing about developing psychic abilities. Have you developed your psychic ability, and how does that fit into the way people live their normal lives in terms of, would it be advantageous to learn this, and how would people do it?
It is advantageous to learn this, and I have learned so far, and actually they mentioned briefly in the book, and I did a lot of my own research, is that being able to see the colors of auras or human energy field, it's a very, very useful and very, very important psychic ability, because the colors will tell you whether the person is going to have physical illness or not, if the person is lying in front of you or not, or if the person is having psychic abilities or not, or has psychic abilities or not, just from the colors. And the way to be able to see the colors is actually written in the other book that I translated, which is 334,000 Lies, written by the highest degree chair of the Illuminati. It describes in detail how the high degree members of that secret society develop their psychic abilities. So this is why there's no use to really use the law enforcement to arrest those people, because they can just use illusions and psychic imposing certain psychic images to the people who try to arrest them, and they can just escape. And so just this is a knowledge that most people don't know about. The high degree members have psychic abilities that people don't realize. But the way to practice and to develop such abilities is to meditate, and really know that the pineal gland is one of the key parts of your brain that can help you to realize such abilities. Because in the book, it describes how Michel de Marquet was able to see auras, and how he is able to understand all the languages in the world, including languages spoken by the ETs or different ETs. Um, and people can just read the book and also the other book to learn more about it. It's mostly through meditation and focus.
Are those the two books you've translated into Chinese?
The other book actually was translated from German into English, 334,000 Lies. I'll send you the link to that book. But be careful, that book contains a lot of um, disturbing graphic descriptions of how they torture other people, and it's not for the regular people. It's for people who are ready.
But that wasn't moved into China. That wasn't translated. Just came from
No,
German into English. Okay.
right, just from German to English.
Um, Now you mentioned the separation of the astral. Have you? My experience, I've talked to a lot of experiencers. And what you'll do is get a lot of these stories about people being taken out of body, being taken to the spirit world, being able to see in 360 degrees, which is out of body experience, things that are similar to near death experience. Do they go into the connection to near death experience, out of body experience, that sort of idea about the astral body and how we the difference between the physical and the astral body?
Yes, they actually made Michelle having this kind of experience in which is a holographic experience. He was able to feel and experience and hear and see everything in a holographic form. And they took his actual body to his like what happened 14,500 years ago, and he was in his actual form when that happened. And it's very similar to the near-death experiences that you just mentioned. And actually, they also mentioned as well that um, the uh, and also from my own research as well is that when a person dies, there's a life reveal process in which everything will be shown to the person, and all the things he or she did, and all the feelings of the other people who received the treatment that the person did, and there's a self-evaluation how how the person did in his or her lifetime, and then after a period of self-reflection, there's a reincarnation process, and then um, the next reincarnation will be determined by the free will of the person, what kind of lessons to learn in the next lifetime. And actually, they also showed Michel de Marquet his past 80 lifetimes. He was a German miner, like a mining worker. He was a beggar on street, a goldsmith in Japan, and also a few times he was a hermit in mountainous areas, and he was also a queen on a different planet, ruling about a third of the country, or a third of the planet, and um, and in each lifetime he had different lessons to learn, and he was told that different reincarnations are just like different points in a wheel or on a wheel. What goes up has to come down. So by the same token, um, Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos or the super wealthy people are having a lesson to learn by being the richest people in the world. They have temptations and they have different things that need to work on. And in the next lifetime, they would become like a commoner, like like a beggar on the street, and to learn the different lessons. So there's nothing to be envious about the super wealthy people or the politicians having luxurious and life or lifetimes or because they have their own issues and difficulties and challenges, and we have our own. But when we do have challenges, we should look inside for answers, because um, we are connected to the creator through our higher selves ourselves. We don't need to um, wash our sins just by the doctrines of the different religions. We don't need to listen to the religious leaders, because we can really get the answers on our own just by meditation, by prayers, or just even by having a good night of sleep. Because in dreams, we connect to a higher self, which is also connected to the Creator, to God, through the different layers. And I think the most important sentence in the Bible is the kingdom of God is within you. We should be confident of our own abilities to connect and reconnect with the Creator, God.
Beautifully said. Now, how's this changed your life in terms of being a translator and then suddenly running into this? Do you meditate daily? How's your life different?
Well, to me, I've been trying so hard to promote the messages to the people in the world, and hoping that we can change the direction so that we can change the world for the better. And I do practice meditation, and I should do that more. And I personally think that I can make the world a better world by having similar-minded people working together, because it is a collective consciousness that's going to do the job. It's not just by one person or two people. The 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 people has a power, and this book actually gives a solution how we can change the world for the better. Is through nonviolent resistance, just like what Gandhi did in India, because it gives an example of what happened on a different planet, in which it only took four people to wake the people up. The four people protested in front of the gate of the palace of their country, and they preached about love and spirituality, and they used nonviolent resistance to spread the messages. And unfortunately, the guards and the soldiers killed the four people. A few months later, and all the people woke up and realized what happened um, was not acceptable. All the people joined force together. The police joined the force, and the soldiers, even the soldiers joined the force, and everyone worked together and stopped what they were doing. They had a strike, in other words. So hospitals and everything stopped. And the finance, I mean, the government, which is a dictatorship government, had to listen to the demands of the people. Otherwise, they wouldn't continue to gain their power and profit. And this is when the whole country changed from a dictatorship government to a more spiritual democratic government. And similar things can happen on Earth. Right now, the financiers are controlling everything. And if you really think about it, if all the people, the commoners, the poor people like us, if we work together, have a nonviolent strike, then we would lose very little. But the financiers, the corporations, the people behind the corporations, the shareholders, the main shareholders, they're going to lose humongously, because they rely on our labor, our slave labor, to profit themselves. If we act together, they are going to have to change and to really think about the interests of the people. But that has to be a concerted effort by everyone involved. It has to be a multinational, transnational, international effort. And I'm working on that. I hope others can join me.
Now you're talking about international effort. I've done one interview in China with someone inside China. What do they know what's going on in terms of David Gresh, and how does that message get there? Because I don't think their system works the same, their communication system, internet, as ours. Is the message fairly open there, or even through a lot of countries you don't hear much about? Japan, South Korea, the Philippines? It's sort of like, are they up on what's going on here? In terms of the United States, it's all everybody wants to talk about, but you don't really hear anything coming out of those countries in terms of this subject and spirituality and stuff like that.
Well, in China, actually, there is a movement for a spiritual awareness or awakening going on, not through the government official media channels, but through the private channels. People share information. And a lot of information is actually shared kind of unofficially and through other means. People translate the books and messages and reports, government reports, on their own, and share that among their social media and social media groups. And I think there's a chance for China to and more people to wake up in China, and I'm definitely working on that as well. So, and I think in Japan it's the same thing, and Japan has a fairly open media, and people share information as well, um, and through their official, not through, it's very easy to get books published in Japan, Taiwan, but not so much in China.
Yeah.
So there's some people, get through. If some people are not worried about their royalty or payments, they can just have the book published in Taiwan, and then they're gonna get into China through different means, probably illegal means, and even though they don't get copyright fees, they get their messages across.
And you work out of Thailand as well, eh? You're in contacts in Thailand?
Yes, I have people in Thailand as well. And in fact, I'm going to be attending the book fair in Bangkok in April and helping uh, similar books to get published in Southeast Asia.
Yeah, so they are interested in this kind of sort of new age, I guess you'd call it, in terms of thinking, in terms of the, but you still maintain that there are control factors in terms of Illuminati all through various countries, right?
Yes, it is a fact. I have actually met people who have personal encounters with those people. And is probably not, I don't know about your audience because some of them are going to be very skeptical. And even to me, even for me, when I heard my friend's encounters, um, I believed it, but he didn't, even though he personally witnessed and encountered those events. He didn't believe that they were capable of doing such things. But I believe that because I know and I knew that they were capable of doing that. And to a lot of people, it's just a fantasy, like science fiction. But they do exist and they do have great powers over the financial system and political system in different countries.
Have you had an encounter yourself, a UFO encounter?
No, no.
That's kind of strange. Yeah, it's like usually that's what sets people off. They go down the paths and they
I
try to figure
work
out what
with
happened to them.
yes, I work with a lot of lawyers and doctors, and also have a JD degree. And so to me, I think I'm a very logical, grounded person. I need specific proof, verifiable facts in order to be convinced. So I'm that kind of person.
And you're working on a PhD? Are you working on a doctorate degree, or what are you doing?
I already have my JD degree. I completed my 4-year law school program, and part-time law school program, and I just took the California bar, and hopefully I'll pass. The result will come out in May, and let's see what happens.
Oh, then you can be a politician, run for politics and straighten things out.
No, I think if you look at major revolutions, they always come from bottom up. It's always by the
Yeah,
power of the people,
yeah.
not from top down, not by the initiations of the politicians. And I think I'm going to work my way up, like grassroots movement.
Beautiful. Okay, so the hour is coming to an end. Describe your website and what you've got upcoming, and what people can do to help you with your mission.
Well, my website is www.chinasona.org, CHINASONA.org/Thioba, T with the capital letter THIAOOUBA. And then people can find a lot of my personal experiences and also research results, which I think is probably going to be the biggest investment you're going to make in your entire life. Remember, I majored in economics and financial analysis, and I read all the books written by um, the great investors, Jim Rogers, George Soros, uh, like Ray Dalio and Warren Buffett. And I think this book, Theory of Prophecy, is probably going to be the most important investment you're going to make in your entire life. By reading the book, you're going to have the greatest return. Um, and people can join me and can find me on Facebook by searching my name, Samuel Chong, Chong. I'm also going to be speaking at the Alien event in Los Angeles in April. People can just Google that Alien event. I'll be talking about the human energy fields, auras, and also this book, Theory of Prophecy, and also the revelations of the messages, the secrets of the ET involvement with us. And I think it's going to be a great presentation. And just come and join me and read the book and just to help spread the words and pass it on to your friends and family members.
Beautiful. That's a big event, Alien Contact. Usually you have big events in LA, I know.
Yes, alien event in Los Angeles in April.
Yeah, interesting. Well, thank you for sharing with me again. And if there's anything comes up, we'll do it again and add to it. And I encourage everybody to check out the book and check out your material. You mentioned your experiences just a minute ago on your, what do you mean by experiences on your website?
My experiences in how I found the book, how I
Okay.
met the author, how I learned about the things he wasn't allowed to write in the book, as well as some of my experiences with other people who have similar encounters.
Yeah, you had a kind of a bizarre encounter where you sort of went on faith to find this guy.
Yes.
You really didn't know where he was, and you had these synchronistic events which led you right to him, which was I thought was kind of revealing. It's almost like that's where I have the idea that you're part of the whole plan, whatever is going on here. You're not a random guy on the outside. It's like you're part of the team that's on stage playing this play.
Yeah, hopefully, but I don't have any contact with them. The Theobans, the
No,
ETs, I
no.
don't have any contact with them yet.
Yeah. But I mean, I think a lot of people really don't. I mean, I haven't had real contact. I've had a lot of experiences, but not direct. That's where it comes down to the certain people. And why would you think they pick certain people in terms of they chose? Because it's very few people that have real direct contact like Michael had.
Yeah, they chose him because he didn't have any preconceived notions. He didn't have any presuppositions. He's just like a blank piece of paper to write on so that he could report accurately what he saw and experienced during his 9-day journey to their planet. And if they were to take a like a journalist or a politician to their planet, then they would afraid that they would add on their own like agenda and opinions on this. And so they chose Michel Demarquet for that reason, and also for the reason that he had 80 past lives already, and he can survive for 9 days on their planet. Because if they chose a person who had lesser number of past lives, they probably wouldn't have been able to survive for 9 days on their planet. So I think for those reasons, they chose him, a regular landscaper, farmer in Australia, to their planet, and then came back.
Beautiful. Last question: are you optimistic or pessimistic?
I'm pretty optimistic because I think I'm pretty confident in our abilities to pass the messages on. And I think with your assistance and with our joint efforts, I think a lot of people who are ready will be awakened, will gain a lot of knowledge, and will make better choices in the future.
Thank you for the effort, and thanks for the work you do. I appreciate having known you.
Thank you.